All right, welcome. Today we thought we'd do something a little different. We're going to start by Lucas having to get through all of these logs in our yard and a silly dog walking around, Maximus. You can see the back of him, there he is, with just me telling him how to get over here. So he has a blindfold on, his little hat there. Lucas, wave to everybody. Maybe turn around like a 180. Oh, yep, there we go, now wave. All right, there's Lucas. So let's see how he does blindfolded and having to trust in me to get him across to the other side. All right, Lucas, so the first thing is I want you to take a step to the right. Now walk forward. Very good. Keep walking, nice and slow. Stop. Take a step to the left. Maybe one more baby step to the left. All right, keep walking. Come on through. Slow down. Doing good. Okay, keep coming, and to the right. That's not your right. Oh, that's your right. That was my confusion. Looking at you the opposite way. Okay, go to the left, to the left, to the left. Keep dancing to the left, to the left. Looking good. All right, now go straight. Now right here, this is gonna be hard because you have to take a super duper huge step so you don't step on the log. I wanna see if you can do that. So you gotta take a big, large step or you will step on a log. Go for it.
Over something?
Yeah, you're going over it. Nice. All right, and keep going. Step, step, step. Stop. Same thing, super duper big step over the log. All right, good job. Now, I told you just had to come to this side, but I want you to turn around now and see if you can do it without my help.
What?
How do you feel? Do it without my help. Oh, it's all right, keep going. Oh. Oh, you remember some of my directions from before. He looks like he's trying to remember them. That was impressive, okay. All right. And stop, you're right into the tree. Okay, Lucas, so tell me.
Can I take this off?
Yeah, take that off. What did you think? Tell everybody. How was it when I was helping you?
Good.
Were you scared at all?
I was a little nervous, not really.
Yeah. Did you trust what I was saying to do?
Yeah.
Okay, what about on the way back when all of a sudden I told you, nope, now you gotta try it by yourself?
Well, I was a little worried, but I was trying to remember what you said.
Yeah, so you're going off what I said again?
In reverse.
In reverse? What about when you hit stuff? How'd you feel?
I don't know.
Did it scare you at all?
No.
Were you upset with yourself or anything?
No.
Okay. So if you had to
surprised
choose,
me.
would you rather do it with trusting someone and some help, or would you rather just try it on your own, all alone?
I would definitely like some help when I was doing that.
All right. Okay, we've come inside now, and we'll tell you more about why we did that exercise in a minute. But first, let's talk about what we've been learning. 2 weeks ago, we learned of Jesus' death. Jesus was crucified on the cross to pay the penalty for our sin. Last week, we learned about what happened the Sunday after Jesus died. Jesus was resurrected on the 3rd day, proving that his sacrifice was enough to forgive sin. Some of the women had seen the empty tomb and told the other disciples. Peter and John had been to the tomb as well to see for themselves. Everyone was confused. Was Jesus really alive? Where was he? Our story this week begins with 2 disciples traveling to a small city. It's called the Emmaus Disciples. So, we're going to start by reading in Luke 24, verses 13 through 35. I'm going to let Lucas start us off.
On the day that Jesus rose from the dead, 2 of Jesus' disciples were walking to a village called Emmaus. The 2 disciples were talking about everything that had happened. As they talked, Jesus came and began to walk with them, but the disciples did not recognize him.
Jesus asked the disciples, "What are you talking about?" The disciples stopped walking. They looked sad. One of the disciples, Cleopas, answered, "Are you the only one in Jerusalem who hasn't heard what happened?" "What happened?" Jesus asked.
So they told him, Jesus of Nazareth was a prophet. He was powerful when he acted and spoke before God and all the people. The religious leaders handed Jesus over to be sentenced to death, and they nailed him to a cross.
We had hoped he was the one who would set Israel free. Besides, it's the 3rd day since these things happened. Early this morning, some women went to the tomb and did not find Jesus' body. They saw angels who said that Jesus is alive. Some of our friends went to the tomb, and they too saw that the tomb was empty. Jesus said, "You are foolish to not believe what the prophets said. Isn't this what had to happen to the Messiah?" Then, beginning with Moses and the prophets, Jesus explained to them what all the scriptures said about him.
Jesus and the 2 disciples arrived at Emmaus, and they asked Jesus to stay with them. So Jesus joined them at the dinner table. He took the bread, thanked God for it, and broke it into pieces. Then he gave the pieces to the disciples. Right away, the men recognized Jesus, but Jesus immediately disappeared from their sight.
The 2 disciples thought about their walk to Emmaus. They said, "When Jesus talked to us on the road and explained the scriptures, didn't our hearts feel like they were on fire?" The disciples immediately left Emmaus and went back to Jerusalem. They found Jesus, 11 disciples, and others who gathered with them. They told them what happened. They said, "Simon saw Jesus too. Jesus is alive." So the whole Bible is about Jesus. When Adam and Eve sinned, God began working out his plan to send Jesus to rescue people from sin. All of the Old Testament points forward to Jesus' life, death, and resurrection, the time when Jesus would bring God's promised salvation for sinners.
Mom, why did God send Jesus down to earth?
That's a really good question. I think it was to help for us to see that we are rescued and or saved from our sins. I really think a lot of it had to do with God's grace through faith in Jesus.
That makes sense.
So it's like God doesn't rescue us because we do a lot of good things to make him happy. That's not why he did it. He kind of did it more even when we didn't deserve it, because salvation is truly a gift from God.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're just going to kind of talk a little bit about what's been going on these last 5 weeks. Has it been hard to have faith?
Yeah, definitely.
What things have been more difficult for you, Lucas?
Well, for school it's quite frustrating because online is a little bit different. It doesn't work the same. And it's hard to find assignments and stuff, so that can be a struggle.
Do you miss your teachers and your friends?
Yeah, I do.
I bet a lot of you guys miss your teachers and friends too. Is there anything else that's been a struggle?
Well, not necessarily a struggle, but just not being able to go anywhere, that can be frustrating.
Yeah.
I mean, we can go places, but we can't feel safe when we go there.
True. Yeah, and I feel like we're stuck at our house a lot, and we can get out, but it's just around this area, walking around and stuff, and it kind of feels like you're claustrophobic, like tight and squeezed and stuck in a place. What else has been hard these past 5 weeks?
Well, just having trust in God and Jesus, that can be tricky sometimes.
Yeah, that's true.
Just like, why did this happen? Why do I have to be careful? Or why do I have to worry about getting sick every day? Why do I have to worry about my friends and family getting sick?
Those are really good questions. And I think the only person you can really talk to about that is God. And how can we talk to God in this time?
Well, we can pray. And we don't necessarily have to pray, but
there's other ways to talk to God. Lucas and I listen to Christian music a lot in the car.
Just worshiping.
And I listen to it when I'm running. So yeah, worshiping, that's praying to God too. And there's lots of other ways to do it. So ask your mom or your daddy if you really want to talk to God and see what you can do to maybe help you and have some faith during this difficult time. I also think it's important for us to have grace, right?
Yes,
and to
definitely.
think about, what other people are going through, and when something goes wrong, to maybe realize that they're having a bad day or having a lot of other difficulties.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Can you think of anything where maybe we needed to have a little grace in these past 5 weeks?
Well, not really off the top of my mind. If I had more thinking time, I probably could.
So that's something else to think about, is just to have grace for your mom and dad if, they're being grumpy, and for mom and dad to have grace for your kids if they're a little extra angry or antsy or frustrated, because it's just a really hard time right now. So earlier we had the activity that you saw where Lucas had to trust me and tell him how to get across to the other side. And that was just kind of an example of trust and putting faith in me as his mom. And so, he was also putting faith in God, and that's important. We have to trust, we have to have faith, and we also have to have grace. So the last thing we're going to do today It's going to be pretty fun, right, Lucas?
Oh, yes.
So we're going to spell out a word, but we're not going to spell it out using a pen. What are we going to use?
We're going to use our bodies and, like, shape ourselves into different parts of letters.
Yeah, and guess who gets to join us? We have a special guest today.
Oh, Mr. B is joining us.
Mr. B! Remember, he only comes like once a month, so this is his once a month, and he's going to join in. So we're going to spell out a word, and we want to see if you can figure out what it is. So here we go.
So did you guess it? I had a lot of fun making those letters with my parents.
I actually had a lot of fun with my husband and son making it. We actually giggled and laughed a lot. And all we were doing is hanging outside. So it's not so bad. There are good things about being home. Some perspective, maybe. Ask your parents what that means. But I've enjoyed a lot of the extra time I've got to have with my family. What do you think the word was? We're going to tell you. It was
Savior!
All right. We love you guys. We miss you. And we'll see you next week. Bye.